Future-Proof is sponsored by Learn Smart Academy, online revision courses for GCSE and A-Level. All your revision in one place, organised for you, interactive and game-changing. Hello and welcome to Future-Proof. Thank you so much for joining me, Sarah Hopwood, as I continue these programmes looking at how to, and you're joining me now actually in the middle of a programme which links to the last programme that I made, and it's looking at building an effective team. And these teams can often be used as project teams, or it could be just a one-off thing. Project teams, often that cycle can be 8 weeks or more. If it needs to keep going on a lot longer, obviously we've known some teamwork can last months, then I highly recommend that there are presentations, there are updates around every 8 weeks or so that it enables all team members to maintain momentum, and also people who are invested in the project who may not actually be involved in the team are able to stay in tune with what is going on, so because they are being updated all the time, and also they can ask questions, and often these things can help the team double check that they're on course, and also it just keeps all investing minds, if you like, and supporting minds around what's going on. It keeps everybody engaged, so it's really, really good. So I was talking about just the importance of the psychology of the team in the last programme, the forming, storming, and performing, and I did just wanted to point out there that the storming is normal. It's normal to have a bit of ag, if you like, or a bit of conflict, or some people can be reticent over certain things. And key thing I was saying there is something is blindingly obviously wrong for whatever reason. Fail fast, fail early, but if not, stay in the process and recognise the storming aspect is normal. And if you stay in the process, keep focused on the outcomes, so in other words, be objective rather than subjective, then you can move from the storming into the performing, and the norming, and then the performing. And the performing then can really, really give you job satisfaction, and also the performing can often reveal some significant other problems that we weren't aware of. And then you're left with a choice: do this team stay on this project, or do you actually get in another sub-project group of people to maybe deal with that revealed issue that no one knew anything about? I don't know, but it's very, very exciting. I love it. I just think of great ambitious things, from getting men onto the moon. They had project after project after project after project as they worked through some of the barriers and some of the challenges. But also there's some of the the glorious revelation sometimes, where you see something you didn't expect, and it's like, oh, that's amazing, we didn't know, and look at that, and I don't know what it is. So it's not all doom and gloom, is what I'm trying to say. So the team structure is really important. Decide how many that you want on the team, the hours per week that the team needs to commit to being part of that group of people. The training needs, do make sure that you recruit people who have either have the needs that you need, the skills that you need, or make sure that they're trained. The most unfair thing that you can do, anybody can do, is give a project team a task knowing full well not everybody has the skills that they need, and then or access to those skills. Then obviously the project team, 9 times out of 10 it actually falls apart. You never actually get to a conclusion. But if it does get as far as a conclusion, then the outcomes will be identified as substandard, the team will be blamed, and then you go back and say, but we didn't know. And I know that ignorance is no defence, but if you don't know, you don't know. And so, you know, people who are in charge of these things, who have set the initiatives and what have you, it's their duty of care to make sure that that team is equipped with all that it needs. And indeed, the leader's job and the team to maybe brainstorm the skills that they need for the task, and to go and say, we have identified there is a gap here. We need a specialist in, for example, AI, and we don't have one. So once we've got that, we can then start the project team. So yeah, the additional resources. Having fun is so important. You know, these things should not be miserable. The sense of achievement and the excitement, if you like, and going into sometimes the unknown is you know, it's I think of that saying, a change is as good as a rest, and some of these things can be such fun. So make sure that you enjoy it. And then, of course, celebrate it. For those of you who know the SMART goals, or the SMARTer goals, specific, measured, that's an acronym of SMART, specific, measured, agreed. I know some people say achievable, I say agreed. Relevant, not realistic. Is it relevant to my job and what I want to do and all the rest of it? And then time bound. But the ER, evaluation and reward. So SMARTer goals, I advocate to you there. I think they're fantastic. Team leadership, development, you know, leaders, and I've just covered most of this anyway, but leaders need to know where they're going, what the outcomes are, and to make sure that you've got your training needs, coaching needs, you know, the networks, all those things that you need. But the best practice, for me, that's signing up to a mantra. You all agree before you start that you're going to honour one another, you're going to support one another, you're going to be transparent, you're not going to withhold information, you're going to speak each other up. And also you've got the confidentiality stuff as well. And the other thing is, I'm not going to talk about any team member behind their back. If I've got anything to say, I'm going to say it out front with everybody. So the coaching skills that you might need, and this is, you know, this is a consideration either within the team, or it could be part of the role of the team, and sometimes actually thinks it leans on the latter there. Part of the role of the team is to maybe look as to what this team might be overseeing, and maybe look at the other people around on ground level and identify those people around it, and which box do they sit in on this grid. Who needs instructions? Who can you trust and let go and just let them get on with the job? Who needs motivating? And very often these are long-standing members of staff that just need motivating, and that definitely happens in the boardroom. And who needs supervising? And once you identify it, you can then put in the coaching and the training needs to try and move people. And if I say to you, which box are you trying to move everybody into, including ourselves, of course? And of course, that box is the trust box. We need to feel that people can have autonomy, we can let them go, we can trust them. They can be creative, but we know that there's a cut-off point where they won't go over and be over creative and cause a problem. Which box do you want to get rid of? Eliminate, empty, you want empty, and that's the supervise box. Yes, people need supervising when they first join a business, but that should be part of an induction process. If somebody's been with you a long time and you're still supervising them, and you've done everything you can from training and coaching and shadowing and you know, all that other stuff, and they're still there, then maybe there needs to be a review of some sort. And of course, that's where you've got the appraisal process, which will help you, because you don't want people to sit too long in that supervising box. So the team selection process, I'm actually going to, I've already talked about the leaders, thinkers, carers and doers. So this is the decision making process, and you can use this for the for recruitment as well. And this is looking at what's the criteria, what is it that we need, and then in the green headed box is then which one is most important to us, and the highest number is the one that is most important. Now in this case they've just done 20 for every single one, but you could have, for example, new knowledge, you could have that as 50%. We are crying out for people with new knowledge. And then working down in the other areas that you might choose, you're then scoring out of 50, and then let's say you put 10 to salary, for example, you're then scoring out of the remaining 40. So that weighing column adds up every single time to 100%. If this is kind of a bit overwhelming at the moment, I have made earlier programs on a flip chart where I've actually talked through a decision matrix. And then you have your options 1, 2 and 3, and you score. And the key thing here is once you've done all the scoring and what have you, and you've worked that grid, have you got the final result that you expected? And if you're surprised at the scoring that's running across the bottom, where you've got 77, is it 63? I haven't got my glasses on, and 55. Is that what you expected? If it wasn't, then you can't lie. So you need to go back into that matrix to say, are there any scores here I can legitimately change? And if there aren't, then maybe that score, even as a surprise to you, is actually the right answer. And just before I go into the break, I just want to introduce you. I spoke on the earlier programme about an 8-week project team cycle. And this is where you can really set up a sense of belonging, a sense of buy-in, and a sense of momentum. And the dry run, after the dry run, that could in some way even be like a presentation of some sort. But it's basically saying, this is all our hard work, let's test it. That's what that means. And it should be tested, because it's not until you test something that what's right and what's wrong with it will fall out the bottom. So stay with me and I'll continue with this just after the break. So I'll see you in a minute.